your
Yeah.
personality? Do you think it adds a bit of flavor to the advertising?
Gosh, I don't know. Listen, you're giving me a lot more credit than it's due, which is lovely. And I hope my mom's listening. I'm not sure she is. She's not big on the gram, but
Well,
I am really
comments
lucky.
are going crazy. Comments are going crazy. Yes,
Easy now,
yes.
easy now. I'm going to change these comments.
Yeah.
I work with people who are way more gifted and talented than I am, really and truly. And a lot of my job is just to stay the hell away, and like, get out of the way and let the good people do what they do. So, um, it's like the community management we have on Twitter in particular, like, terrifies me if I'm really honest. Like, those people are ungovernable, and that's good. That's what we
Yeah.
ask them to do. That's what we ask them to be. I suppose Nando's as an employer brand really wants people to be their best selves, and so
Yeah.
there's a huge amount of freedom to do that. So I'm really lucky in that, I can be true to who I am, and sometimes if that
Mm,
turns itself into the work, that's great. Um,
mm,
so that's really nice of you to say. But honest, like, well and truly, man, we work with a network of agencies, big and small. We try keep egos out of the room as best we can. Like, and certainly titles.
yeah.
Titles can kill ideas like you can't believe. Um, and
Mm,
I'll give you an example. The Africanacity commercial we made in 2018, and we won a Grand Prix for it at Lurie's last year. Like, I wasn't a fan of that. Like, I didn't
mm,
want to make that ad. And
mm,
like there were a lot of
mm,
fights with the marketing team and the agency MNC Sargent.
mm,
To their credit, they pushed that thing over the line. So, like, I had to
mm,
make a call on an ad that I didn't agree with. And even in
mm,
hindsight, I was wrong. And part of, I
mm,
suppose, my job is to stay and take myself out of those kinds of decisions. Like, we were really wrong about that
mm,
ad. I was really wrong about that ad.
yeah.
And
Mm.
so, we're really lucky to work with those people.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And let's talk about the industry now, right?
Mm.
Now we're in the age where millennials are looking at sushi and kind of going, oh wow, that's really cool, right? And here you are selling good old flame grilled chicken, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, how do you compete with industry food trends, as a
Yeah,
brand?
sure. Well, I think Nando's is only coming onto trend now. What's been very
Mm,
fashionable for a really long time is cheap food, not good food.
mm,
And if anything, like especially COVID-19, like, originated out of a food crisis. Like, someone ate something they shouldn't
yeah,
have, as best we know.
yeah,
So a lot more people are asking questions like, where did that come from? What's in that? What's it made of? Like, we had a radio ad quite recently. Well, we'd made it late last year, but we reflighted it recently about asking people what goes into a chicken nugget. Because, like,
mm.
what the hell actually is in a chicken nugget?
That, that
Like,
was that was
no, no,
brilliant.
no, it's not an ad. Those are real phone calls to real call centers, and because call center calls are
Oh
recorded,
wow.
that's what, like, none of that's not made up. So I think
Yeah.
we're not threatened at all by, I suppose, the changing landscape in food, because
Mm.
there's nothing that Nando's is afraid of. Like, you can see it's chicken, you can see it's real spinach, you can see the potato, you can see,
Yeah.
there's no funny stuff or funny preservatives, in that.
Yeah.
Now, that makes the chicken expensive. We can talk about this. It does make, it does cost more, but it costs more because it's homegrown South African chicken. It's fresh. It's not frozen.
Yeah.
It's not pumped with crazy stuff. The basing's got nothing in there that we're not proud of. And so the idea of a trend toward whole food and organic, like, we've been doing that for 30 years, just about. And
Mm.
we're seeing this all over the world. I think the one thing that Nando's is, keeping an eye on is there is a growing amount of vegetarian, sort of flexitarian eating. And that used to be the kind of the pursuit of CrossFitters and vegans
Mm.
and kind of minority groups, or at least, religious groups who kind of wanted to, follow a certain religious protocol. And instead, what we're seeing is more and more people are doing things like Meat-Free Monday, and, managing their protein intake. Now, we have tremendous vegetarian options, and there are a couple more coming at people. So that's something which, we are going to, build on. But, our logo is and will always be Barcelos. It's a cockerel, it's a chicken, but it's not going to be a broccoli. And so, we'll stay famous for that.
Yeah. And I want to hear more about this. So you're saying that marketing is an act, not an ad.
Yeah, sure.
What does that mean?
I've stole that, like all my ideas. And the person I stole from probably stole it from someone else. Um, I, I, I think good marketing is an exchange. It's a value exchange. So people pay you, and they pay you in
Mhm.
different ways. They can pay you money, or they can pay you in attention, or they can pay you in time for something that they perceive to be valuable. And value, quite simply, is what do I get divided by what I do I pay. Now you can pay more and get more, or you can charge less. And that's one way of doing it. Now, I think great marketing is something which allows someone to feel a tangible benefit from it. And a lot
Mhm.
of advertising, it kind of lacks that substance. It may make you feel hopeful, inspired, scared, angry, frustrated. It may elicit some emotions, but unless those emotions can, you know, result in a behavior change, there isn't an act. It's just an ad.
Mhm.
And I saw a tweet this week from, I've got a massive man crush on Fernando Machado, who does my job at Burger King and has been sort of CMO to CMOs for the last couple of years. He put out a tweet this week saying, listen, thanks for all the unsolicited ideas around Black Lives Matter. I don't need creative, ideas like stunt marketing. What we need are, real businesses to make real change. That's what you need. You don't
Yeah.
need something creative. And I really love
Yeah.
that. And that's spot on. So, to make an act and not an ad, I'll give you, I suppose, a recent Nando's example. As I said, we couldn't trade. Like we weren't allowed to sell anything. And, a lot of our work was with other brands petitioning government to say, look, if we trade safely, we can keep a lot more people employed. We can, feed a lot of people, take pressure off supermarkets who are, challenged by social distancing and the like. And, please let us do this. And, that took some time. And, you understand the government's going through this for the first time too. And we noticed these food queues and the basic South Africans were like literally struggling with feeding themselves. And that's appalling.
Mhm.
And yet here we are with restaurants, with fridges filled with food that we can't cook and sell. So we reached out to KFC and to McDonald's and said, listen, let's put the beef aside. Haha. Um, you
And
you
let's
guys
all
have
not
food.
be chicken.
Yeah, there we go. Dum-tshi. So uh, we reckon we can feed 60,000 people with the food that we have in our restaurants at the moment. And so we're going to open just those restaurants. We can't to the public, but we're going to feed a bunch of people. We're going to partner with we partnered with Joint Aid Management Jam, who then took that food to the people that needed it the most. And so while we were waiting for government to let us trade at least a little bit in lockdown three. Um, we went and fed people. Now that's an act, and it wasn't about us. Again, don't make yourself the hero. The hero is the South African who needs
Mhm.
to eat, and then because we're a creative, cheeky brand, we invited KFC to follow suit, and they did. Now, lockdown
Wow.
started with us saying, finger licking ain't so good. You don't have to lick your fingers, get the washing. Um, and lockdown finished with us like putting our arms around each other, say, listen, like a lot of people need help. And to their credit, and
Mhm.
particularly Sohail Lombardo, kind of got behind it. And then Daniel Pariachi at McDonald's did the same thing. And that's a real act. Now, we can make ads about how we're really sorry, we really miss you, we want to trade and we can't. And there's a component to that which is important. But
Yeah.
we thought in 5 years' time, when we look back on this, people aren't going to remember the ads you made. They'll remember like what you did.
Yeah.
Like how did you treat your
Yeah.
suppliers? How did you treat your staff? How did you treat your communities? And we wanted to be really proud about that. Cool. If we're by myself, if anyone's got any questions, I'll be back.
Okay. So you won't believe it. Load shedding.
No ways. It's what I mean,
Or or
Zanzi.
maybe
It's never
or
straightforward.
maybe power or maybe power outage. Okay, so here's an ad.
No ways. That's great, eh? That's so great. I mean, it's not great for you.
Okay.
It's rubbish for you, but
It's terrible. But no, let's keep the show going. We do have this. We do have about 5 more minutes to go.
sure.
And
As
let's
I'm
talk
happy to go
about
as long as you are. Mm.
Oh, and by the way, there's like one constant question that's flashing on my screen. Who manages the Twitter account? Everyone is saying it's you.
No, it's not me at all. Thank God. Um, yeah, listen, we are thrilled to work with a brilliant agency called VML. VML, they've got a few more vowels after their name now. Will come to me, but no, there's some people there who are just brilliant at it. So I think Nando's is made with many voices. It's not one person. It's very definitely part of the spirit of our founders, Robbie Brosen in particular. But
Yeah.
you know, I suppose like a lot of brand managers will give restrictions to their community management, whereas we give a lot more license. And with that comes enormous responsibility, and they handle it really well. So so pleased that
Yeah.
they take care of it. But we can't name the names. That's too secret.
And there's a comment on the screen. In the midst of darkness, we're still your option, Nando. There's a copywriter right there.
Perfect. Yeah, DM me. Let's chat.
Yeah, so I mean, the world has changed, since COVID,
Mm,
from what we know it to be, right?
yeah.
And
Mm,
how has it affected you? How has it affected your business?
yeah.
And talking to the consumer now, in this so-called new normal.
Well, look, this is like a we're still early days in this COVID-19 thing, and to leap to any conclusions to say that this is the new normal, I think is way too soon. And I think
Yeah.
deeply problematic, if I'm honest about it, because it infers that we understand something and therefore can kind of prescribe what that is and can look like. And I think that's not true. We are still coming to terms with the internet, and the internet is 20 years old. So to say that we understand all the implications of COVID-19 and lockdown and authoritarian regimes and governments and all those things, like we're not going to get our heads around this for quite some time. So let's not leap to any conclusions. What I would say to people is just like listen and pay attention, and read and read things that you don't always read people you disagree with, read people that trigger you, like what part of Donald Trump do you agree with? That's a really good question to ask people, because it's easy to
Mm.
bag on the guy and to kind of take a view on fairly delicate matters which are a lot more complex than they look under the surface. Now, I'm not saying I'm a big
Mm.
Donald fan at all. I'm not. But there's a real interesting thing as to why he's the president and why he has the following he has. He's not universally hated, obviously not. So COVID-19 is the
Oh,
same. So to leap to facile, surface level assumptions, I think is deeply wrong. So I think even words like new normal, I really hate it. It's really new, but
mm.
gee, man, it's far from normal, and it's not going to be normal for,
Mm.
I reckon, probably 3 or 4 years. And that's why, from a marketing industry perspective, I mean, we saw two bank reports recently, one from FNB and one from Standard Bank, although slightly different views in the
Yeah.
world, who say that 20% of their clients have lost their income. Is that a candle? Please tell me that's a candle.
That that's my executive producer stroke wife coming to save the day.
That's great. Yeah, it's nice
With
being stroked by your producer. That's very true.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Yeah.
look, we're still, like most of what we're doing is we're learning and improvising as best we can. A lot of people are going to be really poor. We're going to have unemployment like we've never seen before,
Yeah.
and the follow-on from that is the rightful civil unrest that follows that. That said, I'm like really hopeful about South Africa. I really mean it. We have creative potential here, like second to none. We have an unbelievably
Mm.
resource-rich economy. We have amazing weather, and that's a good thing for the economy. We have the potential for growth, which a lot of other countries don't have. So we have all the right ingredients to come through this really strong. It's going to be really
Yeah.
difficult and painful for probably 3 to 5 years. And, the sooner we stop complaining about that and start dealing with the cards that we've been dealt, and that some of them are really good cards.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated. We have like the best constitution in the world. Like legal experts
Yeah.
all over the world, study the South African
That,
constitution. Yeah.
can I stop you with that? So it's about to cut